Hi, I'm Jessica Hale. I work for Oasis International Schools as Director of Educational Technology. So right now, basically, I am the decision maker at all levels when it comes to implementation of technology, both hardware and software, as well as evaluating and determining what kinds of learning management and student information systems that we put into place. I also work with teachers at all levels with integration there. So right now, our student information system is PowerSchool, so we are looking at LMSs that will complement. So we're piloting quite a few different ones depending on the grade level. In our 5th grade classroom, we have a teacher using Edmodo. The secondary levels, we're using Google Classroom. Haiku Learning was piloted last year. We also have used a system called Brain Honey. Some of our students take online classes, and so they use a learning management system called Brain Honey. In my opinion, I really like the interface of Edmodo, and I think it's developing and becoming more robust with time. But right now, I think it's most appropriate at the upper elementary or middle school levels. I really have liked working with Haiku Learning, and I think it's got a lot to offer. It's a newer learning management system, but I think they offer quite a lot, and their interface can reach middle and high school, I think, is the best levels for that one. And then Google Classroom has just come onto the scene to help management. I don't know that I would call that a learning management system quite yet, but it does help organize the classroom. So I've been using some type of learning management system probably for the last 5 or 6 years, just because it allows me to deliver instruction in different types of ways online. It also allows me to give more immediate feedback when it comes to assessment or practice, homework, that kind of thing. As well as communication with the parents, whether it be grades or day-to-day assignments. I think all those aspects of learning management systems is really, really important. Actually, I think it's not very difficult to get students on board, especially with a program like Edmodo, because the interface of Edmodo looks similar to Facebook, and that's what its initial appeal was. Students are very familiar with it. And in fact, I think the biggest challenge with implementation of a learning management system is teaching boundaries with kids, because just because they post something at midnight doesn't mean a teacher is going to respond to them at midnight. It tends to eliminate barriers, and I mean, we can talk about, another subject is talking about, limits on communication and expectations and teachers signing off at a certain hour and that type of thing. Our work days tend to get longer and more ambiguous, I guess is a good word to say. So I think that's the biggest expectation, and that goes for parents as well, because just because an assignment has been posted doesn't mean it's going to be immediately graded. And so, I mean, it's really important, I think, to be communicating those expectations. And so when you're trying to get students and parents on board, I don't think getting them on board is necessarily a challenge, but more setting expectations so that they don't become frustrated and you as a teacher don't become burnt out. Yeah, so you have several different players in that. You have teachers that maybe have been doing things traditionally for a very long time. They're maybe not even comfortable with using technology in their classroom. And so they're a really big sell, because you have to convince them that's going to improve their instruction and improve their delivery of instruction in the classroom. The administrators, convincing them that one common platform is the best platform, I think, is the biggest challenge. And if you can sell them that it will make their supervision of teachers more efficient, I think that's a key in that one as well as make parents and students happy. Yeah, I'm certified in Blackboard as well. In my graduate work, I did some training on Blackboard, and I do really like the way it operates, but I do think it's a very robust system. It's a very expensive system. As far as cloud-based versus based on a server, the end user doesn't notice a difference. The students aren't going to notice difference, parents aren't going to notice difference, but administratively the cost associated with those systems, that's what's going to be the decision-making factor. And so I do think that programs such as Moodle and Blackboard, because they take so much maintenance on the IT end, they really have to sell themselves that they are better. But with the emergence of more cloud-based learning management systems, I think it's going to create more competition and force Blackboard and programs like Moodle to catch up. And I didn't mention actually OpenClass as well. OpenClass is a cloud-based system that I think is emerging. It integrates Google Apps, and I think that's huge. Integrating systems that are already set in place, I think, is a big selling point to faculty and to administration, because if you try to introduce brand new systems that people are not familiar with, then it becomes overwhelming. But if you can introduce a learning management system that already integrates some technology that's already in place, is a big deal. There is some work on the IT end as far as setting up accounts and that kind of thing, but when it comes to managing and maintaining a server, that can become quite expensive. And so with some cloud-based systems, you have to pay a fee for that cloud service. But in the end, when you're paying for a cloud service, you almost always end up cheaper than trying to maintain a server and keep it up to date. In my opinion, cloud-based is the future, and I think most systems will be going to cloud-based. And I think programs like Blackboard and Moodle already are finding solutions to this as having their own cloud-based. So, you know, you may pay for their cloud-based service. You don't necessarily have to have a server on site housing the LMS. So, yeah, I think we're going more to open source content. So if you take a look at iTunes U, there's so much open source and free content there. And logging in to programs and the lockdown of material. So if you consider teachers' content, whether it be delivery of instruction or whether it be student projects and things like that, the more and more we're opening up and putting it out on a global stage rather than keeping it to ourselves in our own four walls of our classroom. So I think open source really is the way to go. And I mean, teachers really have to see themselves as facilitators and not the end-all of all information and instruction. They're facilitating and guiding students rather than being the textbook answer to everything. And I think that's getting at the heart of the issue with learning management systems. You're able to gather information, teachers able to facilitate content rather than to just deliver it. So they can grab a website from here, an app from here, you know, an expert. I mean, if you're teaching engineering, you want to get an engineering expert in, right? And so LMSs really offer the platform to do that. No, I just noticed, I think the biggest things when talking about LMS is the open source delivery of instruction that it can offer, and also the immediate feedback. Whether it be a quick question a student has to answer or has to ask and have answered, or whether it be feedback on an assignment. I think that's the biggest key when it comes to and communication. I mean, communication between teacher and student, communication between student and student, communication between parents and teachers and students. I mean, it's yeah, the LMS is a necessary platform for any school, I believe.